Battle Through the Heavens, Chapter 213, Reencountering the Green Lotus Core Flame. The roar of the diversion fades into a heavy, liquid silence as the surface closes overhead, leaving the chaos of the spears behind. Every muscle burns from the frantic descent, lungs straining against a thickening heat that churns the lake into a violent, bubbling haze. Beneath the white-hot shell of protection, the water turns a jagged purple, freezing into sharp slivers that sink toward the prize waiting in the dark.
His body was like a fish breaking the water as it entered the transparent lake. Xiaoyan's gaze focused on the bone-white flame outside his body, and he could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Under the strange temperature of the bone-chilling flame, the surrounding lake water seemed to boil. While it continuously covered the white bubble, waves of deep purple liquid that were difficult to see with the naked eye slowly appeared. However, as soon as this purple-black liquid was about to touch the screen of bone-white flame, it was frozen into extremely small slivers of ice by the bone-chilling flame, which then slowly fell to the bottom of the lake. Looking at the small purple ice slivers constantly appearing around his body, Xiaoyan's scalp felt a bit numb. He did not expect that this seemingly normal lake water would actually hide so many deadly toxins.
Save some time. The toxicity of this poison liquid is extremely intense. Although there is a heavenly flame protecting and preventing it from entering your body, it consumes an enormous amount of my spiritual power.
Just as Xiaoyan was sighing in fear, Yao Lao's low voice suddenly rang in his heart.
Yes.
Hurriedly nodding, Xiaoyan's legs leaped and his head emerged from the water. Looking at the island in the center of the lake, he let out a light breath. Then his hands quickly paddled, and his body moved with a trail of silver water, slowly approaching the center of the lake. Swimming in a straight line toward the position of the small island in the center of the lake, just as Xiaoyan was about to heave a sigh of relief, the previously calm lake water suddenly erupted with a roar, sending water splashing everywhere. The sudden scene caused Xiaoyan's heart to tighten. He raised his head and stared fixedly at the place where the water had erupted. In the next instant, his pupils suddenly contracted. Where the water slowly splashed out, a giant snake with green scales covering its entire body and a triangular head suddenly surged up from the bottom of the lake. It then opened its large, hideous mouth and fiercely snapped toward Xiaoyan. A wild and cruel aura appeared in its rhombic eyes.
Damn it! Is this small lake really that extraordinary?
Under the violent attack of the strange snake, Xiaoyan cursed angrily. His palm struck the surface of the water with force. Suddenly, water splashed everywhere, and using this force, Xiaoyan's body completely left the water. He tilted his body slightly until it was almost parallel to the surface of the lake, and his toes, like a flash of lightning, lightly tapped on the rushing wave. Suddenly, Xiaoyan's body made a thud sound, acting like a cannonball as it shot straight forward. Thud, thud, thud. His body rushed madly toward the island. Several fierce impact sounds rang out behind him. That was the sound made after the giant snake's failed attack. Regarding the energy hidden in the wind behind him, Xiaoyan did not pay too much attention. Borrowing this impact force, he avoided the giant snake's attack several times in a row. Finally, when he was less than 10 meters from the small island, his eyes glanced back and found that the giant snake was opening its hideous mouth, breaking through the water to pursue him. He gave a slight cold laugh, and Xiaoyan's finger lightly flicked his storage ring. A wooden board shot out onto the surface of the water. Just before it was completely eroded by the poisonous liquid in the lake, Xiaoyan's toes tapped on it. His body sank slightly and then leaped powerfully. In an instant, he finally entered the range of the small island. His body flipped once in the air, his legs bent slightly, and his hands lightly pressed on the ground as he landed steadily. As his feet touched the small island, Xiaoyan turned his head to look. He found that once he entered the 10-meter range of the island, that hideous giant snake became somewhat fearful and did not dare to continue forward. It angrily swung its snake tail outside the island, flicked its bright red snake tongue, and stared fiercely at Xiaoyan for a long time before finally sinking into the bottom of the lake. Seeing the surface of the water slowly become calm again, Xiaoyan let out a sigh of relief. He turned around to look at this small island. The area of the island was not considered too large. Inside, there was a lush green bamboo forest and some flowers and plants, looking vibrant and quite beautiful.
The breath of the heavenly flame.
Taking a deep breath of air, such close contact allowed even Xiaoyan to sense the existence of the heavenly flame hidden within this island. A burning flame appeared in his pitch-black eyes. He clenched his hands tightly and secretly vowed in his heart that no matter what, he had to take the heavenly flame into his hands, because he had put in so much effort and hard work for it. On his body, the bone-white flame slowly faded away. Yao Lao's voice rang out again.
Be a bit careful. Queen Medusa is already inside. However, she currently has no mind to pay attention to you. I will perfectly hide your aura, and then we will act according to the circumstances.
Yes.
Nodding slightly, Xiaoyan's breathing slowly stabilized. He stood on the shore of the lake for a long time before finally taking a light step and slowly entering the bamboo forest. Walking on the small path in the bamboo forest, the atmosphere was quiet. Except for the extremely small sound of Xiaoyan's footsteps walking on the grass and trees, there was no other sound. Although Yao Lao no longer spoke to lead the way, Xiaoyan could still use the vague, strange traces of information transmitted through the air to find the most accurate path. Walking at a pace that was neither fast nor slow, he passed through several small paths. After that, the view before him slowly brightened. At the end of the small path, Xiaoyan's body suddenly crouched down. He quickly hid his figure behind the nearest bushes. His gaze pierced through the gaps in the leaves to look at an empty area in the center of the island. This was a circular empty area. The bamboo and the surrounding flowers and plants had all been cleared away. There was a row of relatively small, smooth stones placed there. Inside those stones was an empty, recessed area forming a small pool containing a transparent liquid. White mist lingered on the surface of the liquid. Even though he was standing quite far away, Xiaoyan could still feel the extremely cold temperature radiating from it.
Ice Spirit Cold Spring.
His eyes stared fixedly at this transparent liquid. After a long while, Xiaoyan took a deep breath of cold air. Previously, he had spent a lot of effort to obtain a small bottle of Ice Spirit Cold Spring from the hands of Jiyute. Yet this place was filled with an entire small pool. Chin check. This scale was truly terrifyingly large. Slowly suppressing the shock in his heart, Xiaoyan's gaze slowly moved, finally stopping on a lotus flower that was exquisitely carved and placed in the center of the small pool. Resting on that lotus flower was a cluster of green flame that was slowly rising. Looking at this cluster of green flame, Xiaoyan's pupils suddenly contracted into the size of a thread. A look of wild desire appeared in his pitch-black eyes, showing on his handsome young face without any concealment. This cluster of green flame was extremely spiritual. Sometimes it rose slightly, sometimes it condensed into the shape of a lotus flower, and sometimes it condensed into the shape of a tiny green fire snake, constantly moving on top of the lotus flower. Its gentle appearance was extremely lovely. His eyes stared without blinking at the green flame that was constantly changing its shape. Xiaoyan, who was hiding among the trees, had the corners of his mouth twitching constantly. His hands pressed on the ground, and because of his excitement, he fiercely dug his fingers into the mud.
I have finally found you.
Staring fixedly at the cluster of green flame, Xiaoyan pursed his lips tightly. Although he had never seen the appearance of the green lotus core flame, he had previously practiced on the green lotus, so he could vaguely sense a familiar feeling from that cluster of green flame, similar to that of the green lotus. After several years of hardship and effort, this was the first time Xiaoyan had seen a heavenly flame from such a close distance. Of course, except for Yao Lao's heavenly flame. Yao Lao controlled the bone-chilling flame, so it was fundamentally difficult for Xiaoyan to perceive the fearsome and violent nature of a heavenly flame. That crystal lotus pedestal was clearly not an ordinary object. Every time that cluster of flame was about to flare up beyond the range, a circle of faint white light would suddenly appear and push the flame back. His gaze carefully swept across the pool. Xiaoyan discovered that every time the heavenly flame and that screen of light came into contact, the ice spirit cold spring in the pool would decrease by a certain small amount. Obviously, the crystal lotus pedestal borrowed the power of the ice spirit cold spring to trap the cluster of green flame within it. His gaze swept behind the small pool. Xiaoyan's sight moved to the left, revealing a beautiful face that could be deeply imprinted in one's eyes. Xiaoyan's originally weak breathing was instinctively suppressed even further. Looking toward this super expert of the Duhuang level, Xiaoyan felt as if a large stone was pressing down on his heart, creating extreme pressure. At this time, Queen Medusa was no different from the energy manifestation that had appeared outside the city previously. She wore a luxurious purple silk robe that wrapped around her supple body. Her figure was full and curvaceous, and her eyes were filled with enchantment, enough to make any man's gaze wander. Under the purple silk robe, a section of a purple snake tail was revealed, lazily swaying, creating a uniquely wild charm. At this moment, Queen Medusa's beautiful eyes were staring fixedly at the cluster of flame in the small pool. Under the reflected light, a jumping fire also flashed in her light purple eyes.
It is time.
Bowing her head and murmuring, a rare trace of hesitation appeared on Queen Medusa's beautiful face. In the next instant, the hesitation turned into determination. Under the purple silk robe, 2 snow-white wrists were revealed. Her slender arms were placed in front of her as she slowly formed several seals. As the seals in Queen Medusa's hands changed, the crystal lotus pedestal suddenly trembled violently. The circle of light on top slowly disappeared. Right after the light disappeared, the green flame simultaneously lost its restraint and suddenly flared up. In an instant, it turned into a raging cluster of flame. Under this cluster of flame, the ice spirit cold spring in the pool below evaporated at a rate visible to the naked eye. Ignoring the surrounding withered bamboo that was being roasted until it smoked, Queen Medusa's teeth lightly bit her red lips. Her jade-like hand slowly untied the knot of her silk robe. Suddenly, a perfect jade-like body, like a masterpiece created by heaven, was revealed naked in the bamboo forest.